The main topic of All-Star Weekend was everything about LeBron James. It was drama, all encapsulating of leverage and posturing and subtle remarks designed to send warning shots and then responses from agencies and front offices and the media world trying to dissect, deconstruct, and make sense of what the fuck is going on with LeBron James and the Lakers right now, because it feels like things have gotten kind of awkward really fast. We are going to be dealing with this aftermath until LeBron James is at a point where he can sign his extension in August, and it'll get really loud if he doesn't. That's where we're at. There's going to be pieces written about this from now until free agency. The magnitude of what Bronny is saying, not only directly, but indirectly in so many ways, because he said so many things during the course of the All-Star game. He gave a one-on-one to Athletic that dropped in the middle of All-Star weekend when he has absolutely zero relevance in terms of his team right now, and that is what he is known for. It all began during that interview with Jason Lloyd, where he was asked in a joking manner. It was a total throwaway comment about LeBron James. You've played for the Cleveland Cavs twice. They're a fun young team. Ever think about coming back to Cleveland? Ha, ha, ha. Right? Ha, ha, ha. And the answer sent ripples around the league. Oh, yeah. Doors not closed on that. I don't know what my future holds. Pause. Excuse me? Hold on. Did he just say he was open to coming back to the Cleveland Cavaliers for a third time? Isn't he under contract for the next 2 years? What are we talking about here? As it turns out, that was the first of a number of shots at Rob Pelinka. Multiple. Even Rich Paul, the leader of Clutch Sports, which represents LeBron James, caught strays. Just for no reason. Bron then went on to talk about the current Cavs in a way that also seemed like shade thrown at Rob Pelinka. This is what he said. I think Kobe and those guys have done an unbelievable job at drafting and making trades. I think the big fella, Jared Allen, the acquisition for it was amazing for them to make that trade. Obviously, Darius Garland is a big-time player. I think the role that Kevin Love is playing right now has also uplifted those young guys. Seeing a veteran that could sacrifice, a champion that has won a championship. Pause. Any champion has won a championship. I just want to say you don't need to say that. It's like ATM machine, you know what I mean? All the things that he's done to come off the bench and play his role, I'm not surprised by anything they're doing right now. And that's a lie. We all are. Everyone is not only surprised, we're shocked. They have shocked the fuck out of us to the point where we are now questioning our own reality, because there is a scenario where the Cleveland Cavaliers are the 1 seed in the East without LeBron James on that team. That is banana land. No one could foresee that, not even LeBron James. So shady he is, and I fucking love it. The next day, things went into overdrive when LeBron, unprompted, completely out of the clouds, dropped this. Just as for no reason, nobody's asking about his son. Nobody's asking about LeBron James' final tour, farewell tour. No one, not one person. Maybe he's just reflective in that moment, but I don't think so. I think everything LeBron James does is extremely calculated. This is what he said. Because he did this. He's been doing this since he was 16 years old. He's been in the limelight of the media, knowing exactly what little buttons to push and how to, little like Pinocchio, marionette of the media. This is what he said. My last year will be played with my son. Wherever Bronny is at, that's where I'll be. I would do whatever it takes to play with my son for 1 year. It's not about money at that point. Whoa! We all know, yeah, Washington Go-Go, G League Ignites, anyone? Shanghai Sharks, anyone? Yo, that would be crazy. We know how much LeBron James loves China. We do know he is a fan of China. We knew exactly what this would do. He knew exactly what this would do. Chaos. Mass fucking chaos. Chaos that has the random fan of the NBA with no affiliation to LeBron James legitimately Googling YouTube highlights of Bronny James. People creating new mock drafts about where Bronny James would go. I'm talking about pushing buttons to the point where the entire landscape has shifted like a seismic shift in the landscape. Whew! We're all thinking about matching LeBron James Jr., LeBron James Sr. jerseys, shoes, content series of father, like son, a tale of two Bronnies. You know what I mean? All of this. Money, money, money. To the point where even I think, this motherfucker might go number 1 overall. I'm pretty sure he will. For no reason other than the fact that LeBron James contributes to more wins at this age in a half a season than most top 8 picks in the lottery contribute in the course of their entire first contract in a half of a season. Contributes to $65 million in additional revenue just for that team alone, let alone for the community that he ends up affecting from the people who go to restaurants and bars, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. He knows exactly what he's doing. Absolutely unreal. And again, warning shot to Rob Pelinka. He's saying, you think just because I love LA, I won't leave LA? You think I'm just going to stay here for no reason at all, just because of some sunshine? I lived in Cleveland, Ohio. You think I'm not willing to do what it takes? You think I'm done moving? I've moved 1,000,000 times in my NBA career. I went from Cleveland to Miami to Cleveland again to LA. You think I wouldn't do this shit again? Sheesh. I left my best friends D. Wade and Chris Bosh and Miami, where I drove my bike to work every day on the beach, and I went back to that shithole where an owner told the world to burn my jersey. You think I won't leave the Lakers? You think, get me a winner right fucking now or I'm out. I am the golden goose, and I will be taking my talents to whatever place I deem it important. Not sure you could say anything bigger than this to hijack the news. And of course, a dozen stories end up dropping after that about how unhappy LeBron James was with the trade deadline, about how he was definitely not co-signing the lack of moves with Rob Pelinka, as Rob Pelinka tried to peddle to the world. Pieces that don't just get written overnight. Pieces that have been held for a moment when it makes sense to drop them, which is right on the heels of LeBron James sending warning shot after warning shot. He followed that up, LeBron, with effusive praise for another GM not named Rob Pelinka, Sam Presti. Yeah. This MVP over here is Sam Presti. He's the MVP. Josh Giddey is great. Sam Presti, I don't understand this guy's eye for talent. He drafted KD, Russ, Jeff Green, Serge Ibaka, Reggie Jackson. I mean, the fact that he has this roster of names just in his head, boom, 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 is like, he scripted this. This guy is pretty damn good, Bron says. Rot-row, Rob Pelinka. You know who has a shitload of draft picks that they could trade? And a lot of cap space for a guy just sitting there waiting in the wings? That's the Oklahoma City Thunder, folks. They could very easily trade for LeBron James with no issues immediately, with ready-made stars willing to pass LeBron James the ball in angles that the mind has never even conceived. Bron is not listing your draft pick since you got put in charge in 2019 because there's only one, and it's Talen Horton-Tucker, a guy that you miscalculated in terms of his value to the marketplace when he wanted Kyle Lowry. and you decided not to trade for Kyle Lowry because of your little golden goose, your one little measly-ass, dusty-ass draft pick in Talen Horton-Tucker that you took, I believe, either in the late first round or the second. And that is when the think pieces started to come out, folks. Then Tom Ziller, Mark Stein, Jason Lloyd, and the most damning piece of all, the guy who's been following LeBron James since he was in high school, my guy, Brian Windhorse. Windy McWinderson, knowing where the winds are going. Tom Ziller summed this up pretty nicely. He said, the short version of all of this, through all of the fog, LeBron James made a push to trade for Russell Westbrook in the offseason. That acquisition has not helped the Lakers at all. The Lakers are again at risk of missing the playoffs. LeBron is mad about that and mad the team made no moves at the deadline to shore up the roster. Here's my thing. The Lakers aren't that interesting. LeBron's position in all of this is completely unflattering, and this is deep on the undercard of what's actually fun about the NBA right now. And trust me, no one finds Laker dysfunction more fun than me. Nope, that's a lie. I do. I find Laker dysfunction to be an unfillable well of joy. Joy upon joy upon joy, and that's with me trying to push P as hard as I possibly can for my own mental welfare and appreciation of the world around me, gratitude like only Aaron Rodgers could find after a 13-day cleanse of just a butter diet and forced vomiting. That's the level of gratitude I'm trying to be on, and yet nothing makes me happier than Laker dysfunction as a Portland Trailblazer fan. I mean, basically, this is how the second act of Cleveland went. Coming off of a championship loss and trying to get to the Cavs to go all in one more time, even if it might put the franchise in a deep hole, mortgaging the future that they couldn't get out of for a very long period of time, that would take them maybe a decade to get out of, to crawl out of. So they did the unthinkable. You've already got your chip. They told LeBron no. Nope, not going to do that. We've got plenty of picks. We're not trading them for you. This is the quote. The Cavaliers did not trade future picks that became Darius Garland, 2019, Isaac Okoro, 2020, and Evan Mobley, 2021. I'd say that was pretty smart for a franchise known for making pretty dumb moves. They didn't trade their 2022 pick to appease LeBron. Instead, they traded it in the first James Harden deal to land Jared Allen. 4 of their 5 best players that LeBron James is basically slathering praise on about how good this franchise has been doing since his absence, and yet the only reason they had the opportunities to make those moves is because they told LeBron James, absolutely fucking not. We are not doing what you want us to do because you are going to leave anyway. And you might even have us make moves that we end up not even getting pieces that put us over the hump anyway. So now, against the all odds, the Cavs found themselves all the way back before the Lakers were back after they won it all. So now the Lakers are finding out something that Cleveland found out a long time ago. That Bron as a GM cripples your franchise for a very long time. And if you give him what he wants, that might actually expedite the process of him leaving because he doesn't make good decisions. And now not only have you made decisions that end up forcing him to leave, now you have nothing to build your franchise after he leaves in the wake of him piecing out for some other a desirable location that he on a whim decides to go to. There are risks for not only allowing LeBron to get his way, but there are risks for not allowing LeBron to get his way. And you have to decide, you can't be half a gangster. You have to either go all in the LeBron James business, or like Pat Riley decided from the very beginning, you have to say no to him every single time. Because if you give him what he wants, and then he decides, well, I know I said I wanted Russ, but now I'm deciding I don't want Russ, and then you say no the second time, now it's like, well, you set a precedent. You're giving the kid candy every time he asks for candy, every time he cries for candy, and now the last time you think you can just say no, the tantrum gets even more absurd. And now the consequences of that, chaos. Wendy wrote this. The Lakers have a flawed roster, yes, but LeBron played a large role in putting it together, but that doesn't mean he isn't ready to divorce it. Ooh, but they have options. Russell Westbrook, if he picks up his own player option, it will be on a $47 million expiring contract. After only being able to trade their 2027 first-round pick, which the Lakers decided not to trade at the deadline, in part because they still owe 2 future firsts from their Anthony Davis deal, which, by the way, which isn't in the quote, LeBron James forced them to do as well. Another clutch client as well. Rules will then allow the Lakers to trade their 2029 pick as well. Being aggressive and further mortgaging the future will be painful and risky, but James is making his feelings clear. I don't care. I want to win now. Like Veruca Salt and Willy Wonka in the Chocolate Factory, like just throwing an absolute temper tantrum. He says, do it, and they get more than new players. They will keep James deeply invested. That's something no team has ever been able to say no to, which is a lie. The Heat did.